was fantastic. Most beautiful place.
The amount of wildlife that is over here is just brilliant.
It's like my dream come true that I've come to Kaziranga and I also saw the Brahmaputra.
A land of striking scenery and remarkable biodiversity. Forgotten and rarely seen wilderness. One of the most fertile places of our country. Assam, with its huge forest cover, vast open lands and incredible climate, is an excellent place for wildlife to flourish. As part of the Times Passion Trail series, 20 photography enthusiasts get a chance to experience wildlife photography with Rajesh Bedi. One of India's biggest names in the genre of wildlife photography, who has worked as a filmmaker and photographer for over 3 decades and has won many national and international accolades and awards along the way. All these participants get to explore the wild and capture some of the best that wildlife has to offer. They get a chance to live their dream on a 6-day wildlife photography trail through Pobitora Wildlife Sanctuary, Kaziranga National Park and Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary in Assam.
For a good photographer, you need to have, first of all, you need to be very creative. I think camera skills, the actual know-how of taking a photograph is secondary, I think. People have smartphones these days. If you have good perspective, you can take a good photo with a smartphone. Of course, but the photo has to be blown, it has to be a very big image. Then you need a good DSLR, you need a good lens. And ultimately those skills, shutter speed, priority and all that. But I think perspective comes first.
Wildlife doesn't exist without forests. So you must have a liking and a passion for forests. Then you'll have a passion for wildlife, and then you'll have a passion for conservation. And after all these comes a passion for wildlife photography.
So let's learn the tricks from the master and his team.
To be a wildlife photographer, there are no parameters as such. Have to be passionate. That's the very basic thing. Fraction of a second, if you don't click, you don't get.
Come along on a journey which lets you live what you love. We began our quest at Pobitora, which is located about 30 kilometers east of Guwahati. The participants meet Rajesh Bedi for the first time.
I have to give tips to you guys. You know everything, whatever little I know, you want to share with me. I'll be very happy. You're stuck somewhere, you want to know anything, don't hesitate to ask me.
You always feel that you always connect with him, and you feel that it's the same level of platform that you have that you can share with him. That's a kind of a humbleness which he has. I guess because of his amount of time he has spent in the jungle has made him a person what he is today.
He is a very informal man, unassuming man, and you can approach him for any questions, at times even silly. Some of my participants here, even they were asking silly questions, but he would try to give his best.
He was the world's best wildlife photographer in 1984. His presence itself is unthinkable to me. I never thought that I'll be rubbing shoulders with Mr. Rajesh Bedi.
Pobitora is mainly famous for its great Indian one-horned rhinoceros. It is also home to more than 2,000 migratory birds and various reptiles.
This sanctuary is a very small sanctuary, about 38 square kilometers. It consists of 100 rhinos. You can imagine 100 rhinos in such a small area.
Once inside the sanctuary, everybody took out their gear and made frequent stops for photos. Park rules forbid the driver from allowing anyone to get out of the jeep to photograph wildlife. All shots had to be taken from the vehicle itself. The jeep safari continued as everyone was looking to capture the rhino, and just when we were about to give up, this majestic creature appeared and made our day.
A lot of photographers could manage to get good pictures in the evening of this rhino, feeding on young green grass.
The most difficult thing is to differentiate yourself or your shot, because there are 10 jeeps and there are 20 people shooting the same animal or same bird. So how are you going to differentiate yourself?
You don't have to disturb the animal to take your shot. You just have to sit there. And if you think the animal does not like your presence, you have to move out from here. No matter whatever the light is, whatever the behavior is, you have to do that. You have to respect the animals, that's all.
I try that it should not be just a static shot, but what I'm seeing is trying to tell me a story, and that I'm trying to translate into the shot.
By sunset, everybody felt confident that many more incredible experiences are in store for us.
I think this is a brilliant initiative by Times, where they try to break the barrier and they say that, okay, Times can be a media house, Times can be looking at politics, geopolitics, day-to-day occurrences, but we can also create a lot of forums within the people who are active on the social media, or people who have an exposure about, let's say, articulating their skills. This will bring more people together, and this will probably, give you that visibility which normally is not there in the media.
That's very nice. Nice.
Once back in the resort, all of them were excited to share what they had captured and showed it to Rajesh.
Wonderful. This is very nice. He did it only once and you got it. Yeah. Wonderful.
By late evening, as everybody settled in, adding some local touch, they were Assamese local dancers who performed for us and made this trip worth it. Soon after, Rajesh Bedi screened one of his documentaries.
Oh my God.
Followed by a bonding session where they discussed their approach to wildlife and what it meant to each of them.
Spending one day with them and talking to them what kind of equipment they are using, what they are looking forward, why they are here on this trail, gave me a satisfaction that they are the right participants. Today we are now heading for Kaziranga, and we are all very excited. The landscape is different. So lots of other wildlife. You have samp deer, you have very big population of rhino, elephants, a lot of greenery, a lot of water bodies, and I think by now a lot of migratory birds going to be there.
Spread over an area of 430 square kilometers, Kaziranga National Park is one of the most important wildlife parks in entire India. It is most famous for the number of one-horned rhino that are found here. It is the highest anywhere in the world and is 2/3 of the total world population. Apart from the big five mammals, the one-horned rhinoceros, elephant, water buffalo, tiger and swamp deer. Kaziranga National Park is split into 4 zones: the Central or Kaziranga Range, the Western or Bagori Range, the Eastern or Agaratoli Range and the Burapahar Range. We arrived by late afternoon at Kaziranga on day 2 and explored the central zone of the park. The Central Range is the core zone of the Tiger Reserve or a strict nature reserve, where casual visitors are not permitted.
This is the first time I'm shooting rhino. I've never been to Kaziranga before. So I'm very excited to be on this trail. And the second is that today I've got this opportunity to be with you. So I just want to ask you as many questions as possible as to what is the best composition of shooting a rhino? I mean, what would be the ideal dream shot?
There is no rule that you have to leave so much space in front or so much of space at the back, and how much is the bottom you should include. What gives a lift to the picture, that's the right composition.
Anand gets the opportunity to share the safari with Rajesh this time.
There's one over there, half submerged. I have stayed many times here, whole day, cooking with them, eating with them. I think they're going inside. They're going inside the forest. They're not very comfortable with our presence on jeep.
We venture deep in the forest, watching and shooting images until sunset. Once back in the hotel, Rajesh asks all the participants to select few of their shots and show it to him.
Wow. Beautiful backdrop, isn't it?
The session starts with everyone showing their images one by one.
And a more fraction, it's bending this way and just shoot. You'll get that.
The group is keenly listening to what Rajesh has to say about their images.
The best part is that Mr. Bedi, every day in the evening, he goes through, he asks us to come up with our 5 best images and then analyzes those images and teaches us. So the kind of learning that we are having out here, along with the fun and following our passion, is something which is not possible otherwise.
People who have a passion for wildlife, not necessarily great photographers. So that's his value into the program. Okay, when we see a lot of people, they have passion for wildlife. They know a little bit of photography, but then he's adding so much value to them, learning a lot from him. So it's been good.
The next morning, we are off to the eastern zone of the region. The eastern zone is famous for birding. More than 400 species of birds have been recorded in this area. A birdwatcher's paradise par excellence. It is also a great nesting place for local and migratory birds like hornbill, egret, heron, adjutant stork and fishing eagle. Just after a few meters inside, everyone was thrilled to see the great Asiatic elephant in the water. The group ventured deeper into the forest and enjoyed sightings till afternoon. In the evening, Rajesh and his team decides to visit the western zone of the park. This time, Sachin joins Rajesh for the safari.
What made you to come to on this Times Trail, adventure trail?
My partner told me about this. I wasn't even aware. He said that I read something interesting which might be of your interest. So he gave me this article and he said, see if this interests you, I think you should go for it. So that's where I went on
opted for this,
yeah,
okay.
opted for this.
The safari in the Western Range is popular because of the chance it offers to get close to the great Indian one-horned rhinoceros. Wildlife photography is all about patience. A few kilometers into the interior, our guides decided we should just stop and listen for the deer calls, which usually mean that a tiger is somewhere nearby.
Even the rhino is alert. There was alarm calls by hog deer. You might see the tiger.
Unfortunately, we couldn't spot the tiger. But as they say, even if we don't spot the tiger, be sure that the tiger has spotted us. So after about 30 minutes of silently waiting in the forest, we decide to move on.
That's nice, yeah.
In the evening session, the group gets their pictures evaluated by Mr. Rajesh Bedi.
The most important aspect for me was, see, technically we go to YouTube, read books and understand the technicalities of photography. But what he told me was how to tell a story with one single picture, and that is amazing for me.
My reservation, this white patch, that is spoiling your image. The whole concentration goes here. Oh, this is good.
One small opening there.
Make it slightly darker, that's it. It's very nice.
In this trail, mixing up with all these different 20 photographers, it's very interesting to understand their point of view, how they want to shoot, what do they think about wildlife. And I think it's two-way conversations that we are having, and I think there's a lot of things that they are learning, there are a lot of things that we are also learning from them.
Just by observing him commenting on the others' images, I observed a lot and I learned. And I used to every day like make 10 or 15 notes for myself that I have to carry forward the next day.
At Kaziranga, the open country makes wildlife viewing fairly easy. This would be the last day in Kaziranga. As the mist lifts and the rising sun touches the hills in the distance, herds of Barasingha and wild buffalo are to be seen in the marshes. Rhinos browse unconcernedly as the visitors pass by, and an occasional herd of elephants is also sighted.
It gives people a good platform, right, from across the country to interact and to access to some of these parks. Right? So you trust a brand like Times and Yatra. We know that they will put us in the best places. They'll take us through the right accommodation, mode of travel. So I think it's been a good experience.
The next morning is a real highlight of the trip. We head towards the Gibbon Wildlife Sanctuary, which is roughly around 135 kilometers from Kaziranga. The forested southern slope contains India's only ape, the Hulok gibbon.
They may give you time to sit and they'll be looking at you, but the ideal choice that we should see them swinging, and they are known for that.
So you can capture them in action, otherwise वो shaky होगा.
See, if you don't keep your ISO higher, you're going to lose the pictures. It will be all shaky.
It is advised that we visit the park early in the morning, as this is the time when the primates are out of their home in search of food. After walking for a while, a part of the group sighted their first gibbon. Spotting gibbons are never easy, as they are almost entirely arboreal and come down to the ground only in exceptional situations.
Canopy. So it's a very big challenge to shoot them and get a good picture. Because the sky is burning, trees are dark. Unless light is falling on the animal, you cannot take a good picture.
They have long forelimbs and shorter hind limbs, which are very conducive for these animals to move around the forest by swinging along the branches on the canopy of the forest. One of the great ways of shooting wildlife in its natural habitat is by building hides or blinds, as it allows wildlife to be viewed without being disrupted or unnecessarily disturbed. Before leaving the sanctuary, Rajesh sir wanted to explain everyone how to build a hide in a forest. After learning about the hides, we left for Guwahati, knowing we would be back. It is once in a lifetime experience of the wild as the trail culminated at Guwahati.
I'm so thankful to Times of India and Yatra for putting this kind of a trail together. And I hope that they keep on doing this in future, and I get more opportunities to be part of these trails. And I think everybody is happy with what we have done over here.
Times Passion Trail, I think, has given them so much in very first trip that they are going to cherish this for a very long time.
For me, the takeaway is really a larger set of friends, a larger community where we can really hook up and share experiences and ask questions, learn from each other's experiences. And we're really looking forward to future trails, either with a larger group or maybe going in smaller groups as well.
We've seen a gradual progression. So the biggest takeover is growth as a photographer, and I think and secondly, I had never seen a rhino in my life. So seeing so many rhinos in the wild was a very good experience for me.
It has been a tremendous learning phase for me. I have learned, say, from 0 to 6 in a scale of 1 to 10.
In the end, everyone has their own view and aesthetic. And what I like may not be what you like. That's what makes taking and looking at pictures so much fun. Right? We learn from each other. As he said, pictures speak louder than words.